Welcome to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today is Wednesday, November 26, 2025. We welcome you to the show. How are you doing, Andrea? Susan?
So good, thank you.
Hi.
Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
Andrea, I awakened this morning into my still point work, and the question you asked yesterday just came to me so clearly when you said, what do you want from me? And I took it that implied some sort of an ulterior motive that is justifiable with historic circumstances, unfortunately, for a lot of people today. And it just became really clear that it would be a good thing to answer that question. And my offering is what I want for you is to discover the truth of who you are, fully, completely embody it, incarnate it in the world, and take the tools as you understand them and put them to work in a way that just enhances that process in your life. That's my goal toward you and toward everybody that I work with, but just specifically answering that question from yesterday.
Yeah, that lands very nurturing and expanded. And as you were speaking, it became clear it has a lot to do with if I can figure out who people want me to be, then I'll be loved and not wrong or bad. I think that's like a big part of that. But then, of course, the mistrust as well. Yeah.
Well, I think when we're taught that who we are is not acceptable, then we search for approval, and we the world calls it love, but we search for approval and it kind of comes across. This is something I talk about in the Healing Through Relationships workshop. It comes across as a question. Well, what do you need for me to be? And then I'll be it. And if I can be it, then we can be happy and da 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 da. And of course, that's just another fraud that's perpetrated upon our minds. And getting back to the discovery of who we truly are. And the next step that came this morning was realizing that you were in a file in my mind as a being, and that it's the category that I'm not even sure exactly how to say it, but today when I interact with a woman, I don't see a woman as a woman. I see a woman as a being. And I think one of the big mistakes that's happened is we've been taught that we're bodies, and being bodies, of course, bodies are things, and of course, things are throwaway when you're finished with them. So it can put us into that category. And the truth is we're beings, and we realize and we relate to each other as beings. There's no such thing as a throwaway. You can't do it. And the file in my mind that as a being you inhabit, and every woman that I encounter, except for Jeanie as my wife, is in the same file as with my granddaughter, Arya, who is just cherished as such an awesome being. And that's kind of the link that I realized. And thank you for the question, because it really had me breathing on that and focusing on that, and realizing that that's the space that I see women from now, rather than the time when our culture tells us some crazy things as men or crazy things as women about people of the opposite sex. And I feel really blessed. I shared in the intensive how the request for celibacy in our workshops came about, and how it took years to come to the language of being, celibate during an intensive. If you didn't come with a partner, to be celibate in thought, word, action, and appearance, just to keep our minds clean and clear when we're somewhere to do our work, that we stay on track with that rather than fall into addictions. And so all of that ties together to bring about that space for me. So know that that's the space you're held in.
Yeah, and
And you too, Susan Bingham. Go ahead.
I could definitely feel that in the whole intensive, and it was a space that I was able to completely surrender into. And even the last still point session, the amount of surrender that I was able to move into was so nurturing. Like it just rippled through lifetimes to be able to surrender in that very, I want to say capable, just for lack of better words, but the capacity to hold the depth of the space and the nurturing and the neutrality and soul to soul from such pure intentions was definitely in the field, and I got to surrender to it. So, and then the other question I have for you is, you said in the celibacy, which I loved that containment, the way that you presented that to the group, because for me, it gave my own wounded parts time to just go, oh, I can release all hypervigilance, because I know then
Right.
I'm not dealing with any energy in that way. And if I was, it would be just a reminder of this is a celibate space or whatever. But one thing that brought questions to my mind, and you said the three ways of celibacy, and the last one was appearance. What did you mean by that?
Well, people can flirt just through physical actions. And so we're asking people in when they come to an intensive. I mean, it's a natural place for somebody to meet a person, someone who's into their work. It's natural to be attracted to someone who comes to an intensive. So we're asking people, like, as the facilitator of the intensive, I really want people to be self-responsible. I don't want to have to police if I see somebody giving somebody else the eye. Hey, what are you doing? Like, not my job. I'm asking but everybody to be in integrity with the commitment in appearance as well. Not flirting, not playing, just moving that out of the space totally so that it is a safe space. And one of the reasons why, my take, and I always speak about this the first night of the intensive, why people don't deal with their underlying energetic dynamics is because they've never been in an energetic space where it was safe to do that. So when part of, creating the intensive is creating a container, creating a space that communicates that it is energetically safe to let anything that needs to surface be surfaced and processed through. And if there's a predatory eye, i.e. the appearance, that can collapse that safety field, would be my take. So that's why that's asked.
And Michael, you're talking about how you dress and so forth, right? Just
Yes,
being,
all the way around, exactly.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
It definitely does. And what it triggered, like what was activated in me, was that I had this past relationships experience where I come from, this space of, I don't know language around it really, but kind of like a hippie background where that's not even it, but it's just where the group of women that I've been involved with for many years, we've all been through these deep reclamation processes. And in my journey,
Right.
It's been around areas that don't go with society rules. And the clothing experience comes from a space of like freedom from many things. And so in my previous relationship, there was a lot of conflict around how I dressed. And so when you brought up appearance, it brought that to the surface. So I wondered if that was open for support and conversation to help me understand potentially from a different perspective.
Right. Well, my take would be, as Susan just kicked in, I mean, there are ways that both men and women can dress that send a message that I'm open to play.
Yeah.
And so that part of that request of appearance is that you dress in a way that doesn't communicate that you're looking for some sort of sexual interaction, that the appearance maintains a space of safety and support. Whether male or female doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I was asking is there space now to walk through this topic a little bit?
Oh, sure. Oh, go for it. Absolutely. We're here for anything that needs to come up. So yes, absolutely.
Great. Any illumination on this would be wonderful. And of course, it's a little bit personal, but so for me, in my genetic history, there's lots of eating disorder issues. And from that came, this experience of body dysmorphia, just to generalize it.
Right.
And for people who are also super sensitive, clothes being a sensory issue, things being tight or pushing in areas, or like women are comfortable wearing bras and they hurt. It's not something I would do, and it feels like a restriction through the chakra meridian lines where they get squished. And like there was all these.
Well, especially wires underneath the breast is one of the worst when you think of it from a point of view of energy.
Yeah.
A piece of wire literally captures energy and creates tissue challenges.
Right. Yeah, so I have really reclaimed my own sovereignty through what clothes feel good and what clothes don't. And in my previous relationship, it was such an issue that I didn't wear a bra. And that, he really felt maybe protective and possessive that, other men could see any outline of anything breast-wise. And
Right.
it's natural. Everybody has nipples. Everybody
Right.
has. And so if you're doing it from a space of like, I want attention, I want to be seen sexually,
Right.
I don't know how that would unfold, but I totally get that. But when that wasn't there for me, and I dress so that my, body issues don't get triggered, and I feel very natural and less sensory, and a lot of that comes from like freedom from conditioning, the way society says things are supposed to be. And so, but that really created a lot of conflict in that relationship, and was
Right.
his reason of why we weren't going to be together anymore. Because I said, I wore a bra for him for 2 years, and then I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't like it. I haven't worn them since I was a teenager. This isn't right for me. And he just said, well, I can't handle that your nipples show, so I can't do this. I mean, obviously there are more issues, but it hit such a confrontational point that now I have a lot of doubt and a willingness to go there of like, is there something I'm not seeing for that conflict to be there? Or is that just me coming up in a relational field as a different message? Does this kind of make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
And I don't know how to sort through it.
Yeah, my conversation with him, were I to be part of that conversation, would be, are you looking? Is this a projection of the fact that you do look, and maybe you do allow your mind. Remember that, my take, as we spoke about in the intensive, is that we do not have the right to be in anyone else's energy field, even with our minds, with intimate energy or intimate thoughts, sexual thoughts. And so I'd be asking him to process through, well, what are you doing? That's such an issue for you that you can't accept. I mean, I would say, unless, and I don't know how you were dressing where you were in that relationship. If I think about how you dressed in the intensive, I got no sexual vibe or energy of any sort in that regard. And I don't think any man that was there could have or would have. Now, again, I don't know in your relationship if there was a different energy going on. And if there was, then of course you'd have to process that through with him to clean it up. But otherwise, my take would be to ask him to perhaps clean up how he looks at women and the way his mind interacts. Because there's an old saying that you don't look behind the door unless you've hidden there yourself.
Yeah.
And so you got to have the brain cells for it. And so I would see that as just an issue to be discussed and processed and healed. That would be my take. But of course, if one doesn't have the tools of the brain cells, of course, that's not really a possibility, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's really helpful, because I did say, like, what is really happening here? Because this doesn't make sense. This is not where I'm coming from, and how I dress is no different than how I dressed at the intensive. And
Right.
I mean, of course, there's summer clothes, but it is the same energy though. And he just would say, I'm so afraid another man is going to come and take you away. And I'm like, but I'm not willing. I'm here with you. And that's not, any man can want anything else, but I'm here with you. And so that's what, but it was just this very incessant accusing. And then I really went into doubt over myself, and all these years of reclamation for myself of like, am I in denial about something? Because I'm so open to looking at it, but I don't feel that imbalance present, that there is any wanting from anyone else. In fact, I've worked for decades on body and clothes alignment and thought alignment about who I am as a soul and as a person and a woman.
Right.
That felt so streamlined for me. To have that show up really made me doubt and wonder, am I in denial here? And the fact that you talked about whether he was in his own integrity, the end of the relationship did show he wasn't in his integrity. I found some evidence of pictures he was sending to his wife and different things, which gave me a better idea of what was actually happening, that it was his own guilt and projection. But thank you.
Yeah, that's
for
what it sounds
that.
like. And it could be that he had, a painful experience of, a partner being taken from him, quote unquote, not recognizing that you can't have a partner taken from you, but you can certainly do things that incline a partner to head in other directions. And so, again, the solution would be, are you willing to pick up some worksheets and clean that up? And I'm here to support you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll definitely do some worksheets after on this specific and see what comes up.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good topic. And I wonder if that resonates anything for anyone else. Anyone else been there, done that, faced that challenge? Any other input? Questions, thoughts from the point of view of the work? Well, then any other directions to go in? Anybody have a question or a comment or something you're working on or something you want to share? Push that mute button. Say hello. And everybody's so silent today. Oh my goodness. Okay, well then in that case, I'm going to jump into another topic.
Well, Linda here.
Go for it, young lady.
I would like to. It took me a while to get to that changing the mute button. I experienced a hairdresser telling me exactly what she was doing in her terminology, and I didn't know those words, like certain kind of cutting, and so that I could get height at the top of my head. And I realized that's a little bit like this. I asked, just testing 1, 2, 3, I asked a friend what she knew about carbon-based memory. She said, nothing, I've never heard that before. She also hasn't heard of other people, but she does tremendous amounts of research, and she's studying medical issues with Dr. Klinghardt, medical health issues. And so she's very intelligent and well-read, and I realized that this whole terminology thing, because I saw the president of my chiropractic school 40 years ago ranting and raving in a meeting of everybody, these words, throwing out these words that nobody knew because they were medical words specifically for communicable diseases that nobody knew. And he was throwing them out as if he was really, really smart, or that for some reason. So this whole terminology thing, and I myself have had an issue of not wanting to be seen. So I would not even give a subject. When I was talking with my friend Rick, he yelled at me, "Give me a subject." And I had no idea why I was doing that until I was 50 and found out that I had an experience when I was younger. I didn't know until I was 50 years old. So this is very important work that you're doing to help us heal. Because as individuals heal, the whole planet heals.
That's what it takes.
Yes, yes.
You know, there's a good metaphor for that. And let's imagine that we have this old creaky house. It's 100 years old, and in the basement there's a sliding glass door. And that sliding glass door hasn't been opened in so long. The tracks are all corroded. They're frozen, and we've gone down to the basement 100 times, and I've pulled and I've pushed and I've tried to open that door, and I just can't get that sucker to open. And that's kind of what dealing with some of these deeper issues is like for people. Nobody in the bloodline, you know, if you're the early adopter, if you're the first one to take it on and to deal with it, you're the early adopter. It can be quite a pull. It can be tough. But if somebody goes down to the basement with the right tools and cleans out the track and lubricates the track, maybe even replaces it, then with one finger you can open the door. Now, as I see it, once one person in the family system faces one of these tough issues and works through it, they've gone to the basement and they've cleaned the track and they've opened the door. The door's closed. It doesn't mean that that work has been done for anybody else, but that the door is now open for the next person in the family system who wants to go through it, who wants to clean up that part of their minds and their lives. So they can energetically, the fact that somebody took it on and cleaned it up in the morphogenic field is the solution. And therefore, every other person not only in the bloodline, but every other person in the world with the same issue is going to more easily be able to move through that issue and clean it up.
Wow. And a second issue is the control that happens as a result of being a little kid and having no control. And you grow up and you need to have control. And I think that what I'm seeing as a governmental, the what's going on is also control. And I realize that if I handle the need to control within myself, the world will change. So this work with the power person is so huge. I would like
Yeah.
huge.
And my offering is that one of the last things you need is control. That's a false god, and control will never create the resolution of problems that one thinks it will. It will simply stave off the problem, and that will then intensify the energy for the next time the problem is in the neighborhood and has a potential to occur.
Well,
But what we
nobody
need to do,
that
my
it sounds like what you're saying is that we are in control of that passion to control. It's
well,
totally unconscious.
right. And that's why forgiveness is needed. But once one lets go, if I need to be in control about this, why do I need to be in control? Probably because I have fear about it. As long as I have fear is an emotional amplifier that's going to pull somebody in to play that out with me again and again and again until I free myself of that. And then one stands as a creator in their lives. It isn't that they need to control, they simply create what happens in their world. And they do it consciously, purposely, with awareness.
I
Whole
love that.
different game than being in control would be my offering.
Yes, I love that. Ha! I totally love that. And that's a big issue for me. I mean, right now I have an issue where I'm looking at the situation. I need to stand up and face the person that says, no, you can't make changes in your book. It's too late. It would take too much time to change the type, the graphic. Well, it's all I wanted to do was add a reference. Oh no, it would be too hard. So I need to stand up, and it's a whole new deal.
Create the response and the space that you need, and speak up. But that's my offering is that's not control. That's the skill of being able to speak up and create a result and hold people accountable for whatever part they have to play in it.
Yeah, I'm the one who hasn't done my part, really. Yep. So I'm happy I experienced a lot of unconditional love with you at your gathering. This 9-day training was really a miracle for transforming this little scared child within me. Wow.
Well, I hope there was not any unconditional love there. I hope that we were totally and completely void of unconditional love, because unconditional love, when you recognize that we are energetic resonance being, would mean that I'd have to bring conditions into it. But my offering would be that the objective of this work is to learn who we are as all embracing love, and to stand in that space as beings of love, being able to extend and embrace each other in that space of being.
I stand.
Not loving each other as though love were a verb, but recognizing that the word love describes a state of being, and that the objective is to obtain that state of being. And that state of being comes into our lives with the breath.
Oh boy, that's beautiful. I've been much more conscious of my breath lately.
Yay.
Yes, I do appreciate that you are having a radio show 5 days a week to keep us connected with that breath, that light, that creative force that we're here for.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Well, I shared in the intensive that I'd been doing some research to write the foreword to Jeannie's book, and ended up back in some of the old Aramaic translations of this idea of the Creator breathed into us the breath of life, and how we've become separated from that, even the comprehension that that means anything in our lives. And we talk about it. I've been doing still more research, and since the intensive, and what I'm realizing is the depth of the con job that's happened in our culture when we got into this mindset of the Greek, the whole Greek foundation of thinking. And that, a lot of people talk about the separation, and the separation is a problem. And the separation is the original separation that needs to be overcome is that we bought into. And you remember that in the intensive several times, as we made a point, as we went through something, it's like, this is physiology. This is where we live. This is in our energy fields as live process. And this whole idea that there's a separate something about us called a spirit is all a Greek mythological lie and fraud. There is no spiritual realm. There is no Holy Spirit. There is nothing separated from we and our breath. And if you go back to every reference, it doesn't say in the Aramaic scriptures, God is a spirit, as the Greeks would tell us. No, what it says is God is a breath. This intelligent field in which we live, move, and have our being is the breath. And when we separate it off into the spiritual realm and an afterlife, that's all Greek. Again, the title of a new book I'm working on, Yeshua would say that's all Greek to me. There's no spiritual realm. This is it. It's our breath. It's here and now. It's in us. And it is this life force, this animating presence within us that is the key to really truly being in that sacred space of the whole breath. And that when we deny that breath, that's when we lock down. So life, Rukadukudsha in Aramaic, would be more the words that have been translated as the Holy Spirit, total, complete bastardization of the Aramaic truth. That would be more properly translated as a breath event, not a spirit person or some ghost that came out of the sky from the Creator, as the Greeks would have us believe. I'm starting to see it, just like there's just this whole layer of thought that separates us from ourselves when we hold that belief.
That belief in the spirit as opposed to the breath, the life.
Yes.
And terminology, learning this breath I just took in, this deep breath and slow exhale is the God, is life. Is God life?
It is actual life, yes, being breathed into you at every moment. You go back to that creation story. The Creator breathed into the nostrils the breath of life. That is life. And this whole misinterpretation, we hear the story that they tell us that in the Greeks that Jesus breathed on them and they received the Holy Spirit. Now we've got something that's in priestly hands rather than in your own nostrils and in your control. The word spirit is a totally and completely false category. It doesn't exist. It's a made-up idea out of Greek philosophy. And if we were to be more correct with the Rukadukudsha, the breath would be the breath presence. And that when we're in alignment, there's not another realm, there's not another substance, there's not another level. The way we move brings us into alignment, the way we move the breath, with the active presence of love.
So if I were to heal from this miseducation, and what would the new meaning of spirit actually be?
There wouldn't be one. A false category created by the Greeks to represent a misunderstanding that is presented by Greek philosophy and has been superimposed on and put in Jesus' mouth. That would
Well,
be my meaning for the word.
And when I just said the word, I got this drumming, this fire, and people around drumming it. And I want to have some meaning for spirit, like these darker forces, the things that
Oh yeah,
attack.
the Greeks brought in this whole group of demons. If you go to the Aramaic, demon, the word that's been represented as demon, casting out demons, was literally removing physiologically locked in energy patterns that had been set in the tissue by denial and dissociation and locked in there by holding the breath. Freeing one of demons was to open the space where the breath can go in and clear that energy pattern out. Now what do we get when we go into Greek philosophy and we live in the Greek oriented world? Now we have artists who present these horrific pictures of these horrific demons that are all outside of us and the problems out there. And now we've got people trapped in a belief system that's a total fraud and has left us in as long as we buy into that whole cosmology of the Greeks, it's hopeless. We're helpless. Somebody's going to come along and sell us, well, there's a being that's bigger and better than you that's going to fix it for you, and you have to just pray to them and believe that they're going to take care of it for you.
Michael, I had a little aunt die when I was 5 years old, and two different people who could see energies of previously living people. What do you call the energies of a previous living person hanging out with me since I was 5 years old?
If life is breath, then life is breath. It's not a separate thing.
Life, it wasn't. They were getting energy from meaning perhaps other people have other ones, like the ones that hang out. Parts of a previously living human live out around bars because they want to feel what it felt like in the body to feel that high, and they jump into other people's bodies when they leave from alcohol or drugs. I want to know what to call that part of my aunt who didn't want to be away from my dad. She was really close to my father, her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So my take would be then a more appropriate term than a disembodied spirit being would be exactly what was breathed into us is a breath being. We are breath. The breath of life was breathed into our physiology, and a piece of clay became animated by that breath. That animating breath is eternal. Can it take on an individual identification as an ant, for instance? That would be reasonable. So her existence, independent of the body, is still in the breath, would be my offering. So it might be an interest if you find her hanging out with you. Pardon me?
Yeah, the second person I really know cleared her off. The first guy was a medical doctor who said he got rid of it, but not. Anyway, or maybe he got rid of something else. At any rate, this wonderful dowser aunt saw it and said, "Do you have an aunt starting with the letter S?" I said, "Yeah, Sylvia." Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wanting to gain comfort with new terminology. It is not easy.
Right. I hear you. Yeah.
So
it's a big shift.
So I would like also the technique you have of changing, like that wonderful story about the lady writing bad checks all the time. And what does check mean to you? Oh, it means fun. It means getting a new thing. It's really exciting. And then what was the shift? Checks meant or bounce.
Well, when she found herself in jail more than once, the word link that was given to her was checks, stinky jail. And that ended her writing bad checks.
Okay, so what's the word link for spirit, I think that I'm fine
Breath.
with, I really feel good about that word
Yeah.
because
Yep.
of all that I've associated with the spirit of love, the spirit
Right.
of anger. It's the
Mhm.
energy of, it's another word for energy for me.
Yeah. Well, I'd offer that
Spirit,
in Greek cosmology, it represents a level of existence that is non-physical and that is a fantasy. And in that realm of fantasy exists all these ugly demons that are out to get us, all of these negative forces, and we're fighting these evil forces. And the only evil force you will ever need to fight, and the word evil in Aramaic, by the way, relates to the word sin in Aramaic. Sin is an archery term. When you fired at the target and you missed the bullseye, the scorekeeper yelled sin. If you missed the target altogether, the scorekeeper would yell evil. Totally, completely missed the mark. And so recognizing that if I'm way off mark, off target, then I want to go in the direction of correction and healing. And that correction and healing is going to be brought to me by engaging in the breath.
mm-hmm. And there are many different definitions for many words
Yes.
because of the, yes, transition takes a little time, but I like to do things efficiently,
Go
tremendously
for it.
efficiently. So that's why I'm looking for word links that, for me, like the word is used, Spirit of St. Louis. That was the name of the airplane that
Mhm.
Lindbergh flew.
Right.
And so, in that regard, what did spirit mean? Life was not breathed in. He might have breathed. When he got in the cockpit, he put life in there.
You got to
But
bet he was breathing.
so, what I'm saying is that I'd like an easy way to make this transition without having to go into the intellect, my mind, all the intellect of studying the ancient this and that, and it's not my passion.
Right.
I'm
So
wanting
let's go with the breath of St. Louis.
okay, the breath of St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're saying breath is life, the life of St. Louis. That doesn't make sense to me either.
Mm-hmm.
The breath of
But
St.
the
Louis.
spirit does.
It does?
Well, I'm asking you about the word spirit. Spirit of
Oh,
St.
it's
Louis
only that
does.
I'm familiar with it.
There you go. Yeah. So, take a look, and if it makes sense to do it, get familiar with something else and see how it fits.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Testing. Well, in other words, practice.
Practice the rule of the 3 Ps.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. I think I'm full up. That's all I can handle right now.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
dear heart.
Much gratitude for all of your work and your continued research. Goodness. I love it.
We are on go in all directions.
Right. As I tell people about the intensive, some of them want to know when is the next one.
Well, I think the next one is going to be an online laws of living. I don't know when the next residential intensive is going to be. We haven't scheduled anything as yet. It will definitely be after the new year.
Right.
And basically, we schedule based on demand. So if you've got somebody that's interested, have them get in touch with us and give us some contact information. And then we'll put their name on a list that says, well, gee, now we've got enough people to schedule another intensive. Let's start to make contact with folks and set some dates, see what works.
All right. That sounds good. Actually, when this person asked me how much it was, she said, oh yeah, that's over my budget. But that's another thing that we need to learn, is that when we decide something, it's amazing how the universe rushes in. Goethe said that. Once committed, the universe rushes in to provide what we need. I've got a friend who tells story after story about how that happened to her. And so that's another, is that in your teachings, in your book?
That if you go into the On Creating Consciously workshop, that's the subject of it.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
And you've got a link to that in your email.
Wow. All right. I need to learn that so I can communicate it easily. Yeah. Oh boy, this is wonderful.
Yes. And for the cost of the intensive, you can hardly stay in a decent hotel today. So
that's true.
Having the awesome food that we ate, and accolades to Urate and Tom for the food we had, it was just fabulous.
I came back feeling so high, so clear, because of being filled with this vitality as well as the loving energy. Yes. I mean, transformational. And it made it very easy to just drink fluids on Monday. I'm so happy you mentioned that you always fast on Mondays, because it was so easy for me to, I just drank some bottles of 2/3 water and 1/3 some pomegranate juice, and I was running. I was feeling so good. I still am. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, young lady. Delighted. Glad to have you on our team and glad to be on yours.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Blessings. Bye-bye. So anybody else got a thought for us? What's on your mind? All you have to do is hit the mute button and say hello. And I'll just, reinforce this idea that, just by the use of that word, and, people use it in all kinds of ways, spirit of St. Louis, spirit of joy, spirit of anger, it capitulates to a Greek distortion that is inaccurate. In Aramaic, there's not such a word as spirit. There is ruka tekudsha, which means breath, also wind, movement, life force, animating energy, an internal stirring, an inner quality or disposition, an unseen movement. So recognizing that there's no separate metaphysical, that the whole metaphysics of the Greek philosophy was put into Yeshua's mouth, and it doesn't belong there. This metaphysical spirit plane, there's no category such as spiritual beings. There's no concept of the spiritual realm versus the physical realm. It's a total Greek invention. And so that word becomes misleading. So in Aramaic, if we were going to try to replicate, let's say, the spirit of joy, it would be ruka meaning the breath, ruka, the wind of joy or the breath of joy. Anger, dehema is anger, ruka dehema, the breath, the essence of anger. Wisdom, no idea, no such thing, but the breath that brings wisdom is the Aramaic perspective on that. And that phrase would mean to feel the movement of joy within us. It's this word represents movement, the inner stirring. Say if one were using that to represent anger, it would be the inner stirring, the breath quality of wisdom. And it just eradicates a whole separation that's been falsely introduced by Greek philosophers and has really convinced people that this was the core of what Yeshua taught, and he didn't teach it. It isn't there. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing. And when we wake up to who we are, we realize that we are beings of light and breath, and that is physiological. And we want to restore that understanding. Hope that makes sense for everybody. And if it doesn't, I'm sure there'll be many more conversations come. Cammie, how are you, young lady?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm rocking. Doing
I
well. Recovered.
recovered.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's a very intense week. And then I did about, on Saturday, I did about a 16-hour day. And, by the time I unloaded part of the trailer, and then I quit for the night and had about a 14-hour day on Sunday. And I finally gave it up and said, okay, I'm going to finish that tomorrow. So that's what I did.
Ah.
And Jeanie graciously put up with that.
I would say that she supported you in that
Yes,
rather than
she
put up.
did. She did.
That that sounds like something I would say, Michael. Did you so I just wanted to double check because
Okay.
I think it was kind of zoned out a little bit. I just got out of a very intense breath session before I came on.
Right.
Did you just say that when you were talking about like there's no such thing as wisdom and stuff, right before that, did
Oh,
you
no,
say
no. I wasn't saying there's no such thing as wisdom. What I was saying is that the word spirit does not exist. So when people speak of the spirit of wisdom or the spirit of joy or whatever, that's a total false understanding, applying the word spirit there as though there's any existence of that. That's a Greek fantasy. And so when we talk about, or when the culture talks about, well, you're a spiritual being, no, you're a breath-based being. You're not a spiritual being. And when we've been separated from our breath, and you take a look at what we watched in the intensive as people were in their healing process, when they were able to connect to the breath, to reconnect, because the false belief has disconnected us. And what we're looking to do is to get reconnected to the truth. Does that make sense?
okay? Yes. And my question was what you said before that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you said that there was no difference between the physical and the spiritual.
No, I'm saying there is no spiritual. No such
Okay.
thing exists. There isn't. The Greeks created this
Okay.
false distinction, and people have gotten trapped in that fraud. And so they think, oh, well, it doesn't matter what I do here. There's always a spiritual realm. That's something separate. No, there is no separate spiritual realm. The word that the Greeks translated into this idea of a disembodied spirit being, a ghost flying down from the sky, which is part of the Greek so-called theology, is just false. The only word that represented anything in that regard was the word breath, not spirit. So there's not a separate spiritual realm.
I gotcha. So this whole thing of saying that we're spiritual beings having a human experience is false.
False. We're breath-based beings, humans. We're breath-based beings. And you watch people who are heading in the direction of disease and suffering and death, and they've cut themselves off from their very lives. They've stopped breathing. They're holding their breath most of the time. And that's the root of death. And once we don't know that that's what we are, and we talk about this spiritual realm. Well, what's the life force in me and how I relate to it got to do with it? Like how I breathe. So what? Who cares? Well, when you realize that is what the Greeks called your spirit, but in using that word, that whole Greek cosmology, there's a totally different cosmology in the Aramaic than there is in the Greek.
That rings so true to me.
So, the
That-
Greeks introduced this supernatural realm, this so-called spiritual realm. So there's the natural versus the supernatural, the physical versus the spiritual, the body versus the spirit, the material versus the immaterial. All of those words, supernatural, spirit, spiritual, immaterial world, that's all a Greek philosophical cosmology that was it forced onto the Aramaic. And the truth is, there's one reality, there's one creation, it's unitary, it's one breath, one presence, one being, one life. You go back to Einstein, where he says, if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. And we've been brainwashed with words to build, because the functioning purpose of the perceptual mind is to turn thoughts into pictures. We fantasize, we live in this whole world of falsity. And the objective here is to come back to truth.
Michael, you may not realize how essentially important this is.
I realize very much how important it is.
No, but to put it together in a book and get it out there as soon as possible, share it with just get it out there on all of these channels, because this will kind of loosen it up for the rest of the truths. I mean, this is fairly innocuous. I mean, people haven't lost relatives and things. This is fairly safe. It's fairly comfortable, even though it's because you're still you're calling us. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Cool.
Back to Cammie.
I'm just breathing through it. That is so huge, and
Huge is the word.
it makes that's not even big enough for it.
It eradicates the whole separation idea.
Exactly. And it's so logical, which works with this mind of mine. It just, gosh, I think I got to go back into another breath session on this.
Go for it. Yes, reconnect with life, and I mean, we've got to clean out this whole separation cosmology that was introduced by the Greek. The word does not exist. The concept does not exist in the teachings of Yeshua.
Oh, so were you guys talking? I need to go back and listen to the part of the show I missed, I'm guessing.
Yes.
I think I didn't get on until like 20 after or something like that.
Huh.
Oh my, that is
So, yeah, if one doesn't have the experience of being a breath-based being, then so you hold your breath for a little while each time, each round you hold your breath. So what? You're withholding life from your physiology. And and you'll remember a couple of times in the intensive, as we touched into a whole series of topics, and I went back to the idea, this is physiology. This isn't from a separate realm. And yes, it is threatening to certain BS, certain belief systems based in Greek philosophy, based in metaphysics. And we'll be putting it together simultaneous with releasing a book. It will be going into the non-local internet so that it can never be censored and never be stopped. as has happened in past ages when a particular thought system wanted to control minds in the world.
Okay, I must have missed that in the intensive.
Now,
Man,
a couple different times I made the point. This is physiology. You know, we talked about the Shekhinta and the Holy of Holies. You know, the Greeks turned it into, and the Hebrews turned it into a building in Israel somewhere, a particular room that only certain people could go, when it is your physiology. It is a space in your brain where you get to link up. That's where I was talking about in the intensive. This is physiology.
Okay, so when you were talking about the Shekhinta,
Mm-hmm.
I was in total confusion. So,
Okay.
can you give me a quick definition? That's instead of me saying what I thought I heard you say, can you just tell me
Well,
what is Shekhinta?
yeah. If you go to the Greek idea that's been substituted, you remember they talked about this Holy Spirit thing. This disembodied ghost is going to come in, and they're going to call it the Comforter. So, and of course, that's now, when you put it in that language, it's now in the purview of some priest who determines whether you get one or not, whether you're approved, whether you get into the club. Where it becomes physiology is to recognize that you have the breath of the Creator in you, and it is physiological that you plug into, that you connect to the energetic realm of the actuality rather than be lost in perception.
So
And that
Shekhinta,
happens inside of your physiology. And when you link up there, you'll remember in the intensive, I spoke so many times about paying attention to the pulses that happen. That the pulses, and you'll notice that there's comfort that comes with those pulses. It is the link up. It is the physiological experience of the presence of love in your body. That's the Shekhinta.
Oh.
And you're designed to have that 24/7, 365. People talk about it leaving, and then when you go into the Greek realm, well, a spirit left you. No. You put in enough anger, sadness, grief, hatred, fear, vengeance, condemnation, gossip, slander, vengeance, whatever, that other things override the eternal presence that is in you, and you lose your sense of it. And you lose the benefit of its guidance and its presence in you. And what we're looking to do is to move the garbage out so you come back into the physiological experience of what the breath of love feels like in your physiology, 24/7, 365, whatever's happening in your world.
Okay. Ooh, that just changes everything.
It does. Yeah, it changes absolutely everything. I'm with you 100%.
That's
And that's what we want to do.
Thank you for
Awesome.
clarifying that for me.
All right. Delighted. Blessings. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have an awesome day and come play tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing